I'm just thinking, is this the earliest we've ever actually recorded something?
Yes, I think it is.
I know
Yes,
we've normally just like 2, 4 o'clock and stuff, but it was literally 12:15. What are we doing, man?
I know, I know. Especially in the long weekend, the long weekend of the wrestling. You need to be getting that rest in. You know.
We're not, yeah, because we're going to be watching Mania for 2 nights worth of it as well. So literally,
Exactly.
I'm going to get no sleep over the weekend.
Definitely. This time tomorrow, I'll still be in my pisher. You know. Um, as this is
Yeah,
Scotland.
yeah. We're also going to be covering night 1 and night 2 on the show, mate. So we've got loads of content to do, loads of stuff to watch and stuff like that. So let's get straight into it, mate. We're going to knock LFG episode 9 review out. I have got a lot to say about this one because there's a lot of obviously comments on the line and stuff, and I can't wait to get your thoughts on it. But yeah,
No, definitely.
here we go. Intro. In it as always, mate. It's great to be obviously in your pleasure. How's the week been?
Yeah, it's been interesting, obviously because of the Easter break. But was it a 5 days of work turned into four? These companies don't get that. You get a public holiday, but you don't get that extra day off.
Yeah, we've also got the Monday off. Have you got Monday off as well?
I don't. We don't get the Monday. We don't get the Monday, but I've got it off anyway because it's WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, all good.
Need some chill. Need some chill time, yeah.
Yeah, especially after a long weekend of the wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, WrestleMania night 1, night 2, we will be covering on this channel, as I mentioned in the introduction and stuff like that. But of course, Annie, we're talking about LFG episode 9 review and stuff like that. Now, there's a lot of controversial stuff obviously on this week, but what did you think to this week's episode? Or
It
last week, should I
was
say, sorry?
last week's, this week's. Yeah, it was good. Definitely a lot of controversy. We'll definitely get into them talking points, shall we say? But it was one of the more eventful episodes. Put it that way.
Absolutely. And the thing is, for me, I mean, I'm a big, massive fan of tag team wrestling. So when it was announced last week, where it actually was, I was really super stoked for it because, like I said, Dudley Boys, I'm a massive fan of and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
again, for me, when I think this show this week, or like I said last week again, sorry, is it's a show of two halves. The first half absolutely sucked, but yeah, the second part was absolutely awesome.
yeah, definitely. That was it called, and I'm the same. I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. It's definitely died a death in the last decade or so. So hopefully we can get back to what tag team wrestling should be. Um, it was good to see some of the goings on. Some of the stuff wasn't good to see, but we'll get into
No,
that.
absolutely. Let's obviously start, mate. So, tag team wrestling, obviously, Devon Dudley, Dudley Boys. They're one of the best tag teams, whether you like them or not. But there's one thing I want to pick up on straight away is Booker T said that ECW titles were more regional than WCW ones.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, but I mean, what was it? In the sense of what we know about, I mean, there's a bit of camaraderie in there, isn't there, and a bit of what was it, chivalry, and what was it? I'm better than you going on, but it's all in good fun. But ECW apparently is or was a regional promotion. So it wasn't like a global promotion or a nationwide promotion like WCW or WWE, but it's a bit unfair to say that. What was it? But I, it's a couple of friends having a couple of jabs at each other, and there's nothing wrong with that. A bit of
No,
banter.
absolutely. For you as a fan, though, whether it's regional, whether it's world titles, do they
No,
still count as records?
it should still count. I think there's that whole debate on. There's that whole debate. Where do you go with it? I mean, but was it? I mean, Ric Flair's already started backtracking, saying that he's really won 21 world championships and things like that. What was it? What was it called? People need like. remember that like guys like him and Harley were changing belts every night at house shows and things like that just for the sake of doing it, you know. So that was the reason why there's a lot of like stuff discounted, you know. What was it? It's don't play with the formula, you know. Don't play with the formula. It's messed
No,
up.
exactly. And I think the thing is as well is even like because obviously the record wouldn't be noted back in the 60s, 70s and stuff like that. So people could have more titles than what we know.
I mean, Jerry Lawler's got a ridiculous amount of titles, you know. So what was it? It's all down to that and how legitimate you want to make it, you know. I think for the longest time the NWA title was the title, regardless of where you were. I think one of the big first companies to sort of break away with that was the WWF. But was it where the titles were defended on their shows, but they recognised their own world title away, and I think even though they were part of that organisation, you know, what was it called? It sort of changed. If you look at the beginning of TNA, they used the NWA name, you know, as well on their title, the NWA TNA title. So it
Didn't
was
they also name it anyway the promotion as well?
yes, they had that sort of what was it a bracket there. So it's all very interesting, and that's maybe that's maybe an interesting what was it, episode to do. Look at the sort of whole aspect of that because there's a bit of controversy of there as well when all about when sort of what was it Billy Corgan invested in TNA, and I think that's why he ended up with NWA Library because there was a bit of a tie there, you know, and to make him go away, you know, because I think he was ripped off essentially.
Yeah, I remember the whole controversy. And like I said, that's obviously a future episode. So Shawn Michaels obviously announces the matches as follows: Panina and Leo Laral, which is Team Booker versus Danny and Serena for Team Mickey; Xena and Tatiana for Team Bubba versus Tasha and Bailey for Team Taker; Drake and Cutler for Team Bubba versus Troy and obviously Chris for Team Mickey; Shiloh and Elijah for Team Taker versus Troy and Luke. So we've got all basically a mixture of matches and stuff like that, but let's get into obviously the first controversy and stuff like that. A certain BJ.
Yeah. The thing about that is quite interesting because obviously comes in and waving uh, his medical note saying that he's good to go.
Yeah, essentially is. What did you think to that?
What was it? It's interesting. I spoke about it. What was it? What was it? For me personally, from what they've been trying to do with the program, and I think I've said this to you before, but was it it's meant to be like legit, you know, and yet this almost feels like a little storyline that's going in inside it. You don't know whether it's legit or they've sort of planted that into the sort of the shenanigans of the TV show. What was it called? I'm not a fan of it. You know, if he's out, he's out. You know, what was it? Don't gimmick it. I wouldn't have gimmicked it the way it is. You know.
No, exactly. And the thing was as well is it basically, but Bubba obviously put in with Cutler. We obviously know the history and stuff like that. I do kind of feel bad for Drake because he's kind of like wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, and what was it? Bubba says he would make it up to him. You know, so but he chewed. I mean, he chewed Cutler's ass for what he said. You know, and then obviously he chewed out BJ for having that smug prick face. You know that people want to punch. You know, so.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
as well, I mean, when we look at the whole episodes back, he's not done nothing to make me want to go, oh, this guy's decent. He's just a smug, arrogant, cocky prick.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but was it it what what gives him that legitimacy other than the fact that they presented him that way? You know, it doesn't. You know,
No,
which
exactly.
which is, puts me a little bit off because I didn't really want this to be. I mean, you don't know if it's real or not. You know, but I didn't really want that gimmicky sort of element into this show. I wanted it to be sort of like a more real sort of play on what goes on. But I get it. I get it's entertainment.
No, exactly, and stuff like that. So the first match obviously was announced, which was Cutler James. Now, obviously, we know it's BJ Ray versus Chris Island and Troy Yearwood. I'm not going to read the notes on this match because, for me personally, this match was absolutely awful.
It
Do you
wasn't
know what I
really
mean?
a match, was it?
It wasn't. No, it's straight awful and stuff like that, and it ends by obviously BJ going into business for himself. And the thing is, I recently watched the mass transit incident and stuff like that, and obviously Devon was obviously part of that. And I get the fact that people think it's scripted and stuff like that, but this does happen in wrestling, and it's bad all round. Do you know what I mean? It's bad professionally. Do you know what I mean? Injuries could happen. Anything could happen.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. You've got to go in that ring, and you've got to trust, whether it be 2 people or 4 people or 6 people or 30 people. You need that trust, and you need to make sure that you're given that respect back that you've been given. That you've got to let everybody get their sort of spot in. And you can't go into business for yourself. That was it. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one.
No, exactly. What did you think to obviously the aftermath? Because obviously Bully Ray took him outside and stuff like that, and he absolutely scolded him. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was he took Mick out as well with him, and what was it called? I mean, what was it? If that was a legitimate scenario, it was. I'm sure away from the cameras, more happened.
No, exactly. Cutler obviously got a lot of stick for obviously walking out and stuff like that. But I think for me, if I was in that predicament, I probably would have done the same.
Yeah, it was. It's a difficult situation, And in hindsight, you should have just stood there and let him go for the roll up, But it was a really god awful sort of situation.
No, exactly, and stuff like that. Like I said, I mean, I was just there watching, going, "What the hell is happening?" Because it does happen.
Yeah, and if I was a fan, I had paid good money to go to see wrestling, and that had happened, whether it was legitimate or not, I would be pissed. What was it called? Because you're not just screwing off your sort of your peers in the ring. You're screwing the fans over, particularly if it's a name. If somebody's got a bit of a name. I know these guys haven't. But still, and there's a reason for it being, well, the crowd were chanting my name. What was it? What was it called? The trust is already sort of gone. If you've got that mentality, or if you're
No, exactly.
that way.
And the thing is, obviously, I spoke to James Greenwood this week, and he said that the thing is, fans are obviously paying money to come and see us, so it's down to them. Do you know what I mean? To like put on a good show. They're entrusting us, with the money and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
if they do something bad, they're not going to come back. And obviously, Sean said that, towards the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing there's quite a few guys that have even at all levels that have never been invited back to work because of that scenario, doing something they weren't meant to be. You hear of these bad scenarios where guys turning up and they're booked, and then they say, well, if you want me to go out in the ring, I want more money, and things like that. It's shady shit. What was it? What was it called? What was it? I mean, there's a few of them. I mean, what was it? I know, like he said a bit of his good luck because of his good buddy Moxley, but Eddie Kingston was notorious for doing that, turning up to shows or not turning up and screwing people out of their money. So what was it called? What was it? That's but sort of one of the reasons it's I got pissed off when people what was it, people like him sort of make it. You want everybody to have success, but when you've been like that and done stuff like that in the past, it's just not nice, because you're screwing over the fans as well.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect. And you're not just screwing, like you said there, you're screwing the fans over, you're screwing the people, you're screwing the promotion over, you're screwing the people. There's so many more people than actually yourself.
Definitely. It's very interesting. It's a bit of a deflection, but if you, what was it, Maven, who's ex-WWE wrestler, has got a great podcast, and he's got a fantastic one with Just Incredible, where he confronts him about some of the stuff that goes that he got up to. I would watch it. It's quite interesting to just see.
I've actually watched it. You know about the Maven?
Yeah.
Yep, I've actually watched it. It's really actually good.
Yeah. It was how he didn't see any bad in what he's done. It's just like like, and then he just plays the victim and says, "Well, what's $50 to these guys? You know, when I'm struggling, I've got a disabled kid at the house, at home, like that stuff like that. That stuff like that to me is nasty. Like swearing on your mother's lives and like that's low stuff. You know, people do that. You know,
The ending bit got me because apparently some people who he obviously respects obviously told him more stories and stuff.
yeah, yeah. You know, and what was it? You know, what was it? Can you imagine that in the locker room as well? That you know that one of these guys is going to turn up and they might just. I think they talked about a show they were trying to get. Stevie Richards spoke about a sort of like consistent sort of indie promotion they were trying to set up. He's got an interesting take on it as well.
I actually
Uh,
love his podcast. That's the one I've been listening to a lot recently. He's really good.
yeah, what was it? I mean, what was it? It's interesting and the conversation's really good. The chap that does it as well. What's his name? I forgot his name's. Um
James Romero.
yeah, James Romero. Yeah, it was terrible for remembering names, but I mean, he's got a couple. He's got the one with Dutch and that as well, which is really good. But the Stevie Richards stuff's really good, and
He's also
what
got
was it?
his own as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, he's very good at what he does, you know, and stuff like that. I love listening to get the different takes. Don't always agree with you. Don't always agree with what they're saying, you know, but that's part and parcel of it, you know.
No, exactly. Everyone's got their own perspective and stuff like that. So that's match number one. Match number two was Leah Laral and Penina Tulipa for Team Booker versus Danny Sikalski and Serena Linter for Team Mickey. This one was one of these where I felt like it was too rushed.
Yeah,
In
I
a
mean,
sense.
yeah. Sorry, you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so you obviously you're sort of what was it? Yeah, it was very much what was it? Like I think they used the term green. You know, what
Mm-hmm.
was it? What was it? Booker was a bit pissed off as well because of the instructions. You know, what was it? You can see why producers of matches and that and are the agents get pissed off. You know, because they don't follow instruction. You know, that's the first thing. I think I think when you're I think when you're that sort of what was it inexperienced. You know, you need to make sure you take uh, time to sort of listen and just get that. But then again, we're not taking it the aspect of being in front of a crowd and the adrenaline you've got there, you know, and things can seem it might not seem rushed to them when they're in the ring, but obviously in retrospect it is, you know. Um, but it was there was some interesting stuff. There was an interesting Bronco Buster from Serena. That was so that was sort of interesting, you know. But as Devon pointed out, by the end it was falling to bits. You know, it fell apart. You know the match, and and it was very rushed and what was it? Yeah, it was hard to. You can see the frustration in the competitors as well, and the coaches. You know, as the match was coming to an end, and then obviously as the match finished and they were behind, sort of talking to them.
No, exactly. And like I said, I can't really say much on it because, like I said, it just seemed really rushed and stuff like that. So that's obviously next match we've got is now Elijah Holyfield and Shiloh Hill for Team Taker versus Anthony Luke and Jasper Troy for Team Booker. I just want to say this for me was probably my match of the whole entire series. Do you know what I mean? And it really gave me some more confidence after watching the first two. And that sequence, the ending and stuff like that was
Yes.
absolutely terrific. Do you know what I mean? Worked so well and stuff. And I think everyone was really happy.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Not to jump ahead of the match, but after the match, they were all behind the curtain and they were high fiving all four of them. You know, and that's what I think what they're talking about being a team. You know, what was it called? And we'll get to the points. You know, what was it later on? But any one of these guys could have won that point for their team. You know, it was such a solid tag match. You know, there was some great spots. Holyfield's he's money. You know, that was it. Just his look. That was and
Even
his
Shiloh
aggression.
as well. I mean, I know you pointed him
Yeah,
out.
well,
I think it was week 2.
yeah. I've always I was always like picked sort of Shiloh, but was it as a guy that you can sort of see making it. But what was it? I mean, Holyfield, his whole look and his persona is just like he's going to be a top name in the industry. I think. Just it was obviously he's quite green at the moment, but not with this match because obviously some of the stuff that we're doing and the hot tag and things like that. What was it? But it was such a great match, you know, and the coaches were buzzing after it as well, which was really good to see, you know.
Even I was buzzing as well. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? The whole, like I said, the concept, that last sequence and stuff like that. Do you
yeah,
know where they obviously took him Jasper out and stuff like that? Was just to
yeah.
me that was absolutely incredible because, like I said, the
And
first half of the show was terrible.
yeah, and what was it called? What was it? And it's interesting. It's interesting as well because obviously they made comments there before the match that you're seeing stuff about it from the Undertaker that you don't normally see. You know, his passion for the business and his passion for wrestling and things like that. And then you sort of see a bit of that afterwards as well. You know, it's just what was it? He was like totally he's into the match. What was it? And he just loved it. You know, what was it? And you just seen, even though these guys are in a competition with each other, you know, just how buzzing everybody was that had worked out. But like, what was it? It's weird because you sort of see stuff online and people review these matches as well, but don't review these matches in the context of like what was it? Like you would like these guys are starting out, you know. What was it called? What was it? And critiquing things is like if it's really bad, yeah, you know, like we've talked about. But what was it? These guys are starting out, and some of the stuff is just ahead of the game. I mean, some of these guys haven't even got 10 matches under their belt yet, and they're doing matches like this, you know. So really good.
Absolutely. So then, for one final match to wrap up was Bailey Humphries and Tyra May Steele for Team Taker versus Xena Steele and Tatiana and stuff like that. I want to point out, obviously, Tyra and stuff like that because it seems like a lot of people's getting frustrated with her, putting matches together.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? The argument of like she's the most experienced by how much? You know, what was it called? That's like what was it? That's like you doing two more podcasts than somebody else and saying, yeah, well, I'm an expert at this. You know, you've got to have that sort of way up. I get what they're sort of saying, you know, but what was it? But again, that's just strong people, strong women want to be the leader, and there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, what was it? Because at the end of the day, what was it? They're in a team just now and they're doing tag team. But at the end of the day, it's her career. You know, so she's wanting to make sure that she's out there. But what was it? To the detriment of what? Sometimes you've got to sit back and think. What was it? Is it worthwhile? You know, pissing all these people off.
No, exactly, and stuff like that. Now, I want to point out, obviously, that Bailey Humphrey finisher, that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was, and it was, and I've seen people say like 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 knocked it down as well because it's like, well, you can't impact sometimes production wise. You know, you see stuff like are passing their hands through. You know, what was it? Sometimes production ruins elements of wrestling. I think. What was it? But again, if they didn't know the move was coming, then what was it? Next time you would have the camera on a different angle so you don't see the hand pass through. You know, the cooperation. What was it called? I'm just pointing that out because I've seen a couple of comments about that online.
Mm-hmm.
But it was incredible. Bailey just looks totally different to everybody else. Um, what was it called? And I think she's going places just purely on her look, you know. And the sort of what was it? The fact that they can, what was it? She's only a couple of matches in. What was it? Zena's as well. She's top tier, isn't she? She's just
Would you
different
say that
levels.
she's the most improved out of all the females?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily improved. I think what was it? We stereotype people, and you see somebody like Zena, and you think Ditsy blonde, you know. just because of the way she speaks and things like that, and the way she presented herself in the first week or two. But she's really came out of her shell, and she's what was it? You shouldn't judge people like that anyway, you know. But I'm just speaking for like how like the common perception would be to people. You would look at the athletes as being the ones that were going to be good at it, and not the what was it? What was it, the ones that are the gymnasts and things like that. But we all know about Tiffy time. You know, she was a gymnast, and what was it? I'm not a big fan of all the gymnastic moves and things like that. You know, but what was it? But yeah, it was all good. What was it? And eventually, what was it? I mean, she was doing stuff. They were talking about her stomping the steps and things like that, and getting the crowd going. And what was it? As the match was starting, they were like Taker and I were talking about how she's just different. This girl's different. You know, they were taking the Devon. This girl's got something. So it was really good, really, really good.
Absolutely. So then, obviously, after all that, we got the points and stuff. And I think it was interesting because the last two matches, I couldn't pick a winner. I think like every single one of them deserved a point. You know, for me personally.
Yeah, definitely. But was it? What was it? You've got to ask why Bailey didn't bring that one out last week for the finish moves. You know, what was it called? Because that would have stole the show, for sure. But yeah, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick. I mean, we'll get to the points in a second, but it's hard to pick a winner between these two teams because they're really good. Even though, what was it? What was it? There was a bit of sort of Tatiana was a bit sort of confrontational afterwards. You know, what was it? I think she says she get like you've got to protect the spots, make sure you don't get injured. But I think that's just a bit of sort of camaraderie between her and Tyra. They obviously have rubbed each other up the wrong way, you know. So, what was it? It's point scoring, isn't it?
Absolutely. So the points obviously got awarded to Shiloh and Elijah, which again, any one of them could have absolutely won because I would have been happy either way. And then, of course, the points went to Xena and Tatiana, which again, them 2 points, like I said, they could have gone to either one of those teams. So it was one of those where even I was happy either way.
Yeah, no, definitely. What was it? And I think what was it? There was no arguments between any of the teams that got the points. You know, I think it could have gone any other way. Obviously, they were a bit upset about not getting the point for their team, but I don't think they could argue. You know, that one didn't deserve it over the other because they all deserve the point. They all deserve the point.
Absolutely. So the scoreboards now was followed. Team Takers in the lead with 6. Team Booker's got 5. Team Mickey's got 3, and Team Bubba's now has got 2. So next week is going to be really interesting because now it's going to be Cutler versus BJ. One stays, one goes. If this goes the way I think it's going to go, I'm going to be pissed as a viewer.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be BJ, I think.
What, stay or go?
Stay.
I think I'm going to be pissed at that because he's not really done nothing for me as a viewer to like entice me in. And I know it's... Yeah, I just really don't want that, but I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think as soon as I seen that edit and knowing how reality TV works, he's not the one going.
No, exactly, and stuff like that, which is absolutely disgusting. But we'll obviously discuss that next week. I'm actually curious to see you, obviously, as well, because I think the match is now something's going to happen in the match, and they've got to deal with it, but they're not going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you've seen the sort of buckle thing, you know. Definitely, it'll be interesting to see.
Exactly, and I think, like I said, that's going to be interesting to see how they handle that, and obviously what's going to happen. But yeah, like I said, the BJ Cutler one's going to be the biggest thing, and like you said there, I personally think that it's going to be the other way around. I think obviously BJ is going to stay, but it's kind of annoying because when you look at everything he's done, it's kind of like, really?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and you know, I'm not a fan of the gimmicky sort of side of things though. So, that was it. If he ends up winning the contract at the end of it, I'll be pissed.
Yeah, I think I will be as well, but obviously remains to be seen. So yeah, that's obviously episode 9 review. We're obviously on the show tomorrow. Well, this is obviously Friday. We're recording this obviously tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., 1:30 Eastern. We're looking at WrestleMania Night 1, looking at all the match breakdown. And then, of course, on Sunday at exactly the same time, we're going to be looking at Night 2 and look ahead to what happened at Night 1. It's going to be a busy week, isn't it?
Definitely.
Absolutely, and stuff like that. So, yeah, as always, guys, you want to support the show, head to The Magic of Wrestling on YouTube. Obviously, support the show. Got loads of interviews coming up as well. Any final words?
Onomatopoeia.
And on that bombshell, cheers for watching, guys.